Mouse Trouble News fans, with the election coming up, Barack Obama has decided to release a video detailing him and what he's done over the past couple years and what he plans to do about the future. Unfortunately, this video, which I would completely classify as propaganda, seems to abstract a little bit from reality. This is the video.
How do we understand this president and his time in office? Do we look at the day's headlines, or do we remember what we as a country have been through?
The president-elect is here in Chicago, and he's named the members of the economic team, and they all fly in for the first big briefing on the economy.
What was described in that meeting was an economic crisis beyond anything anybody had imagined.
Our time of standing pat, of protecting narrow interests and putting off unpleasant decisions, that time has surely passed.
His advisors would ask where to begin. Which urgent need would he put first?
Which is 1, which is 2, which is 3, which is 4, which is 5? Where do you start?
If we don't do this now, it will be a generation before 30 million people have health insurance.
If the auto industry goes down, what happens to America's manufacturing base? What happens to jobs in America? What happens to the whole Midwest?
The entire national security apparatus was in that room, and now we had to make a decision, go or not go. As he walked out the room, it started to dawn on me, he's all alone. This is his decision, and nobody is standing there with him.
Despite all the nice-sounding rhetoric that was thrown around during his initial election, the change and the hope, well, by now, pretty much we've all understood that that was a complete fraud. And there never was any hope or change actually coming. Now, I noted this among many people that they really thought there was hope and there really was change coming, and I said to many people, particularly people on the left, the guy's not going to change anything. Nothing new is going to happen. The same things that happened under George Bush are going to continue under Obama. And unfortunately, many of those people didn't listen to me, and, well, we have the situation that we have now. Now, this is no genius insight by me or anything. It's all of recorded history. Politicians all promise to change things. They all promise to do what you want, and yet they never do. One of those things was giving the bailout money to Wall Street. Now, let's be realistic about what happened. Capitalism dug itself into a pit. Through speculative trade, all the largest organizations pretty much just buried themselves. Had there been no bailout, let's be honest, the entire capitalist system would have crashed. And that would have had worldwide consequences. Some of the richest people in the world would have gone bankrupt. Have no illusions. This bailout was going to happen no matter what. Even if by some miracle Obama had not bailed them out, they were still going to get that money. Because despite being greedy and selfish people, they're not dumb. They know without this money, the entire system would have come down. Their social order would have been destroyed. This was going to happen no matter what. Now, these banks were given public money that were taken from working class people and middle class people given to rich people, which is very interesting because usually the complaint is that socialism takes money away from rich people who earned their money and gives it to people who didn't earn their money, the working class, lower types. Interestingly, had America actually been a socialist country, well, those banks would never have existed. But if America was a socialist country, had Barack Obama actually been a socialist, he would have taken those failed financial institutions and socialized them, making them government property and run under government control. This is what you get when you have a system based on greed and selfishness with the richest people running that system. This is what you're going to get. Later on, there was a huge struggle to stop the automotive companies from getting a bailout. The financial sectors got it, without question, as soon as they wanted it. However, it was a huge struggle for the auto manufacturing sector to receive it, because, oh, what are they? Well, that money's just going to go to, regular working and middle class people. Yeah, a lot of it's going to get funneled to the people at the top of GM and companies like that. But let's be honest. The company is about not just selling cars, but employing regular working class people. And seeing as how a system that serves the rich is completely unlikely to serve, poor, regular working class people, which is why it was such a fight to get it. Now, ideally, I would like to have seen the automotive industry actually being taken over by the state and run a hell of a lot better. But this is capitalism, and the bailout to the automotive industry was probably inevitable as well. Had the entire auto manufacturing sector actually crashed in the United States, that would have had far-reaching consequences. Not as bad as the financial sector actually crashed, but they still would have been pretty bad. The automotive companies didn't so much as mismanage what they have, but that there's no market. I mean, you can throw all the money you want at the auto manufacturing companies, but if there's no one buying the cars, if the sales are that low, then you can't just throw money at the company. There needs to be a demand for those vehicles for them to be able to stay in business, or they're just manufacturing cars and then leaving them there. But this was the best that they could do within the confines of a capitalist system. In terms of freedom and democracy, Barack Obama has not done very well at all. As a lot of people seem to forget, Americans can now be arrested overseas without trial, without a warrant, without anything, can just be taken and held without charge. It's the continuation of the same policies that were put through by the Bush administration. To put it bluntly, literally nothing has changed. It is the same fascist policy that came in through the Republicans that are just being pushed through by the Democrats. To say that Barack Obama is a dictator is literally the same thing as to say that George Bush was a dictator. That is the system we live in, where the ruling class needs to defend its privilege, and is willing to do so at almost any cost. Another important point to make is that wars have not stopped under Obama. He spoke a very good anti-war rhetoric, but I knew, and a lot of people knew, the wars were not going to stop. They don't just stop just because you elect a new leader. In fact, those wars have continued and have added additional ones. Drone strikes in Yemen, drone strikes in Pakistan, some of which was under Bush as well, moving forces into Somalia now to fight Al-Qaeda there in the same pretext of the global war on terror. The renewed threats of war against Iran, threats of war against Syria. The imperialism under the Democrats is not any different than it was under the Republicans. It has been exactly the same. One thing that I hope does come out of this is that we can finally end the pointless garbage about the damn birth certificate and where Obama was born, because it's completely irrelevant. The real issue here is not how he was elected, or if he was really elected, or if he was born in America. It is not Barack Obama that is illegitimate. It is the presidency that is illegitimate. It is the power held by the president that is illegitimate and needs to be challenged. Whether it's an illegal immigrant or a born U.S. citizen in that position, it is still wrong. The power of the president's office is the problem. Not very little of it has to actually do with the guy sitting behind the desk. Have no illusions. Whether it's Mitt Romney or Rick Santorum that goes up against Barack Obama in the next election, whether they win or Obama wins, it's going to be the same thing. People have to get beyond this idea of partisan politics. It is not the politics itself. It's the system in which people live. The president's office and how it functions is illegitimate. The person behind the desk is less important than the power the position holds and the form that it takes. We need to move past this idea that it's just going to simply change if you vote somebody else, because that's the illusion people are genuinely fed.